124 years ago, Charles Stewart Rolls said in a magazine article that the electric car is perfectly noiseless and clean. There is no smell or vibration. They should become very useful when fixed charging stations can be arranged. And here in 2024, that prediction has come true with the Rolls-Royce Spectre, which might have been considered by him as the perfect Rolls-Royce, at least so far. And you know, it has that perfectly silent powertrain. It's completely quiet after over a century of Rolls-Royce trying to mute all the sounds from an engine and from all the road noise. Now you have a giant battery pack that quiets this vehicle down, in addition to all the other measures that Rolls-Royce is used to using in all of their other gas-powered vehicles. And as far as the Spectre, well, this is a very impressive looking vehicle. This one especially stands out in this chartreuse color, which is $13,100, and this two-tone component is another $28,550 for the very beautiful paintwork though. I mean, this color is definitely polarizing. The more that I see it though, the more that I actually do like this combo with the black. I think it's a really, really sharp look. But I mean, just how long that hood and the front end is, it is so impressive. And it's great that they kept those classic proportions, of course, even though there isn't really anything under the hood aside from some electrical components. But, you know, up front there, it's just so impressive with the slender little LED strip and then the actual headlights beneath it. Of course, you have the Spirit of Ecstasy, which has even been redesigned for the Spectre here in particular to be more aerodynamic. This vehicle actually has a drag coefficient of 0.25, which is really impressive for a vehicle that's as blocky as this is still. But so the Spirit of Ecstasy is now a little lower with the wings more widespread there, and just gives you a really cool new little look. And it's subtle though. It, you know, looks just like you expect from the Spirit of Ecstasy in the past. But you know, the very impressive grille, which by the way is illuminated, for another $5,425 if you'd like, and why wouldn't you? It's a really cool look at night here. But then coming down to the sides, you have these 23-inch wheels, which are another $10,675. And you also will see what are the largest doors that Rolls-Royce has ever put on a car. They're very long, and it's really great that they're of course powered and automated there. As soon as you hit the brake pedal, it closes that door automatically. And to get out of the vehicle, you actually can grab the door handle and pull it twice and then hang on to the handle as it helps to lift you out of your seat and get you out of the vehicle in a very elegant way. And just things you only see on a Rolls-Royce. So impressive. And of course, when you have that door open, you can see the umbrella there, of course, so that you never have to get a raindrop on you if you can avoid it. And then coming down to the side silhouette though, I love the sloping roofline you have here. It's just really a cool look, and I love the thick chrome trim. It's really, you know, a solid chunk there and very cool looking. And then going out to the back there, again, it's nice and simple and clean though for the back end, really understated. You have a little bit of an integrated spoiler there in the you know, little deck lid area, but the two-tone theme continues of course there. And I love those taillights as well, which have, you know, like this brushed aluminum kind of look to them. And so from every angle, of course, it's a Rolls-Royce. It's going to stand out, it's going to make a statement, but it does very much look every penny worth the $558,700 this one costs as tested. And that officially makes it the most expensive car I have ever reviewed as well. The interior of the Spectre is really impressive, and this one is very distinctive as well, with more of this chartreuse color for the leather in addition to peony pink, and grace white is the primary color here, they say. And it is a really impressive combo, very creative, but so classy. Rolls-Royce interiors are always so impressive, and I think they've done a really nice job of improving the tech here, especially for this new Spectre. But first thing, sitting down in these seats, you have these really soft seats. I mean, you can see just how squishy they are whenever I squeeze them. I mean, they are so soft and feel so nice. They have massage, they're heated and ventilated, of course, and just such nice seats. And yeah, I can sit in these things all day. Another thing that's also strangely really comfortable that I usually don't talk about are the floor mats, which are this thick pile carpet that it's a shame it's dirty, because I feel like I need to take my shoes off to even sit in here, because they're just such nice carpets. It's really impressive. The steering wheel though here in the Spectre is your fairly typical Rolls-Royce wheel of, you know, having a really thin rim and just beautiful wood, metal, and it's a large wheel too, which is another Rolls-Royce trait that is really cool, but really great 9-3 grip and all of that. Moving on to the gauges, though, you have digital gauges here in the Spectre, and they're pretty simple. They do the traditional stuff of showing you how much your power reserve is there, as far as how much of that power it's using, which is a really cool way they've always shown their power in these Rolls-Royces. And on the other side, you have a very cool, very three-dimensional with the shadowing and stuff battery gauge there, showing you your range, and a really nice little arrangement. Another thing here that's really impressive are some of the options you have here in this one. So, you're used to, if you're familiar with other Rolls-Royces, the Starlight headliner, which this already has, but now it's combined with these Starlight doors, and so that is a $13,300 option, and that gives you 4,796 lights here between the front and the back on all the sides altogether. So nearly 5,000 little LED lights, in addition to the twinkling effect that you have here for the ones up above. It is really a cool touch that, of course, Rolls-Royce pioneered, and now taking it to the next level, they're putting it in the doors, and really makes this whole interior feel very special, especially at night, I'm sure. But moving over to the center of the dashboard here, you have this touchscreen, which does have some BMW bases to it, but it's really quick and responsive. So good. You still do also have this controller wheel down here, so you can spin through radio stations a little faster than swiping if you'd like. But you can see there's a lot of different menu items there, including Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which this has wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, which is great that you have that here. And navigation, all the usual stuff, works fine, and just nice and easy to navigate all that. But it's, the infotainment is not the focus here. It's not some gigantic screen. It's a nice size screen, but it's not dominating this interior. The stuff that's dominating it is the beautiful wood, the beautiful metal, like these air vents. Moving on to that, there are these massive vents, and really, again, kind of old school feeling, even with the little organ pulls you have here to open and close them, which have a great resistance and feel so nice. Same thing goes for like the volume knob front and center here. All these little row of buttons, which is something, is customizable. You're used to seeing that in other BMWs, and a nice thing that's carried over, because you can customize those, and it's a really nice way to have some shortcuts set up there. And then you have the climate controls here, which to me are a bit of a mystery. I would need more time than I have with this vehicle to read the owner's manual and figure out exactly how these climate controls work, because as you can see, it doesn't look like it's actually like fully automatic. You have an adjustment there for your fan speed, and then you have two dials on both sides for hot and cold. Again, I'm not sure if one's for the top vents and one's for maybe the bottom vents. Again, I need to do a little more research here, but just really beautiful. And I do have to cut them a break for piano black, because it is true piano black veneer, not some cheap knockoff like you see in every other vehicle that's trying to look classy on the inside these days. But unfortunately, as you can see, especially around the controller area here, it suffers the same fate as the cheap knockoff versions, where you have dust that accumulates, scratches, fingerprints. It's very classy, and especially in a Rolls-Royce, you want classy. And I'm sure, by the way, if you pay enough, Rolls-Royce will do anything. I'm sure you could probably swap out all the piano black plastic if you would like. And then you have your center armrest here that has some nice padding to it, but honestly, it's not as pillowy soft as I was expecting. Same thing goes for down by your knee area. There is some padding here, but it's not pillowy. And with how soft even the floor mats are, I was expecting this stuff to be like pillows, and it's not quite, but it's of course very high quality feeling and very solid. But and it does have some nice padding, so resting your knee on there isn't uncomfortable. But again, I'm just a little surprised there's not more plushness, honestly, for that stuff, considering again all the other plushness in here. But anyway, you open up that center armrest, and you have a decent sized space here with two USB-C jacks and a wireless phone charger here with a nice little bracket to hold it in place. You also see right in front of that you have another little cubby you can fit some stuff in, and your two cup holders, of course. And one other interesting touch, though, is this clock, which is $4,725. It's a very nice clock for sure, and for anyone that's used to timepieces and stuff, that's pretty cheap, especially for being inside of a Rolls-Royce. So it's just an interesting little touch that is an extra cost option. You also have this bespoke audio system, which is an extra cost option that has been developed by Rolls-Royce specifically for this vehicle, and really extensively developed to make it sound incredible. They want it to sound as close to being in an actual studio as possible. Unfortunately, I don't have a ton of time in this vehicle, so I can't hook up my phone and do a lot of listening to music here, but I have no no doubts it's impressive, and even just quickly listening to satellite radio, which is a terrible source, but even that actually has a lot of depth to it, a lot more than I've ever experienced from satellite radio before. So I have every confidence that this is going to be, really impressive stereo. And it's also relatively cheap from a cost standpoint too. It only costs $11,425, which I feel like even Porsche has some more expensive stereo upgrades than that. So reasonably priced, relatively speaking, to be honest. It's 18 speakers and 1300 watts, by the way. Moving on to the back seat here, though, in the Spectre, it is a lot of space, actually. I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself, I easily have, several inches of legroom to spare back there. You also have their own air vents, their own climate controls, their own heated seats, their own armrests with 2 more USB-C jacks in there, cup holders, of course, and, just so impressive from the back seat there. It's just so comfortable. I think it's the roomiest coupe I've ever been in, honestly, at least in modern times. And so a really nice back seat, even though I'm not sure how often it'll be used, but great to have that for sure. And then the trunk space here in the Spectre is also surprisingly large. Yes, this is a large vehicle, of course, but it's a coupe with a giant back seat. And so, I thought it'd be a little more limited, but you can see it's a very long space. It's not super wide, but you can easily fit, very large suitcases in there, no problem. And so, yeah, overall, I'm actually pretty impressed. This is, a really practical vehicle as far as coupes goes, just thanks to its sheer size. But let's turn it on and go for a drive. The Spectre here has a very nice Rolls-Royce key there, which I believe can also do the positioning in parking lots with those little buttons there. But it has the color matched leather there on the back, which is cool, and a very heavy, very beautiful key fob there. And of course it is keyless access, keyless entry, push button start, all that. But the interesting thing is you have a start button here on the left, which is a very fun touch. So yeah, you just hop in here and hit the start button, and it turns right on. Even the warning chimes are like done by an orchestra. It's fantastic. All right, so setting off here in the Rolls-Royce Spectre. Love even the turn signal sound. Anyway, so starting off here in this vehicle, well, the first thing you notice, I guess the first thing that I'm noticing from behind the wheel here, is it does feel very long and wide. You can see where the end of the vehicle is, essentially because of that spirit of ecstasy. And so it's really impressive. I think the other things that I'm really taking in here are the really nice light steering, which is still really precise. You actually do feel a little bit through the wheel, but it's just very relaxed, and just, I don't know, I love the way they have it set up. First and foremost, it's luxurious and comfortable and easy. Other things, so you do have, since it's an electric vehicle, there is a slight regen drag that it does whenever you let off the gas. And so, you can actually have a one pedal mode if you'd like to. You can hit this little B button on the gear selector, and that will allow you to do the one pedal mode if you'd like. But honestly, I'm really impressed with how well they blended the brakes here. A lot of electric vehicles, that can be a little bit of a challenge for engineers to set up, but honestly, they've aced it here with this, because it is incredibly smooth, exactly like you'd expect out of a Rolls-Royce, of course. Throttle response also, unlike other EVs, which, always want to rip your face off with acceleration, of course, that's not the Rolls-Royce way. So it's nice and damped and has a nice gradual ramp up, but it's also so quiet. This road that we're on, by the way, is super noisy. We're in the Pacific Northwest here. We have these very noisy, loud roads, and even on this, it's so quiet. Honestly, the air coming out of the air vents is louder than the road noise, honestly, and that it's just doing because it's trying to keep me nice and comfortable here since we have a sunny day. But and you're also floating along. It's really incredible, especially if we're on 23-inch wheels. But I mean, like, I deliberately hit that manhole cover and I barely felt it. And so when they have what is called, Rolls-Royce has always called it the Magic Carpet Ride suspension here in these, which is a 4-corner air suspension with active anti-roll bars and active dampers, and it all is just focused on giving you a very smooth ride, and it really does a really good job. It's also a nice stable ride. You have 4-wheel steering as well, so you have the rear wheels that can turn opposite to the front, give you that extra stability, or it can turn with them if you're trying to maneuver in parking lots and all that. And so it gives you great maneuverability for a vehicle this large, which is really nice, again, when you're in tight parking spaces. I love 4-wheel steering. I wish every single car had that. But I'm going to turn down onto this back road here, and let's see how the Spectre accelerates. Again, not what this thing is for, but let's just try it anyway. Here we go. All right, listen to that complete silence. Wow. And you don't even really hear wind noise or road noise like you typically do when you accelerate in an EV, even a silent one. So that is impressive. And it's a good amount of punch here too, by the way. We have 577 horsepower, 664 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is officially quoted by Rolls-Royce at 4.4 seconds, but Edmunds actually managed to get it down to 3.9 seconds in their testing. So properly quick. I mean, again, no one cares with a Rolls-Royce. You don't really want it to be super fast, honestly. They have their other, you know, fast cars if they want to go fast, but I mean, it's really sporty. So if you need to get out of the way or you need to you know, be in a hurry, you know, this will be more than happy to accommodate you with that. And also, yeah, it is impressive that, you know, on some of these back roads here now, you know, it's large, and you can certainly feel like you're piloting something of significant mass, which, by the way, speaking of the mass, these weigh about 6,400 pounds, just barely over 6,400 pounds here for the curb weight. And you know, I mean, so it's very heavy, but honestly, that is still, you know, lighter than a Cybertruck or lighter than a Hummer EV by a couple thousand pounds, you know, especially in regards to the Hummer there. So, you know, it's honestly, it feels very agile still. Again, thanks to the light steering, you know, it feels very willing to do whatever I want to do with it. Yeah, this, I mean, I have reviewed now, I think, over 700 cars. This is the smoothest ride I've ever experienced in a vehicle in my life. It truly, and it's not even close. Like, you know, I've driven plenty of other really nice luxury vehicles. This, hands down, like the others don't even come close. This is really impressive. And honestly, even my memory of like the most recent, you know, Ghost, a black badge, the past generation Ghost, you know, even that, very smooth and comfortable. But I think this takes it even one step further, especially because of the quietness. Again, even though that V12 in those old vehicles was, you know, very, very quiet, this is complete silence. And also the fact that you have the battery pack, which they say does add some sound dampening, in addition to the over 400 pounds of sound deadening material they have in this vehicle. 400 pounds of sound deadening. I don't know how you stuff all that in this and this thing, but they have done it. And so, I mean, that's what you get. You get, you know, super silent stuff. I think all the journalists and, you know, magazines that have tested the sound readings, I'm pretty sure that it's like set a record for all of them as far as the quietest vehicle they've ever been in as well. And so again, this realizes, you know, Mr. Rolls' original, you know, vision of this being the perfect way to do a luxury vehicle. Rolls-Royce has always been after silence, and they've done a very good job with it, you know, for their entire existence, arguably the best out of anyone. And then, you know, this allows them to take it up to the next level here and do what they never were able to do before. And it's so funny, even just driving and talking at my normal volume that I do talk at, you know, in these reviews, I feel like I'm talking too loud. I need to like be quieter. I mean, this is just, it's so impressive. You could hear me whispering in here. And not only is it so quiet here, you know, just with the driving experience, but it isolates you so well from the outside world. Like you do hear a little bit from the outside, but hardly anything at all. And like now we have a smoother road, it doesn't make as much road noise as the road we were just on. And now, I mean, it's as good as it gets. It's really as good as it gets right now. Yeah, it's really, really impressive. So as far as the battery pack goes, though, it's a 102 kilowatt hour battery, and you know, that's not enormous. There's a lot of other EVs that do have larger battery packs, but Rolls-Royce, whenever they talk to their customers that were interested in an electric vehicle, they all said, you know, I don't need more than the 266 miles of range that this has, because of course, if they want to go further than that, they're going to be hopping in their private jet most likely, or you know, having someone else drive, or whatever the case might be. So, you know, that was enough for, you know, the journeys that Rolls-Royce buyers typically do. So, you know, you don't need to go insane with the battery pack if, you know, that's the reality there. And so, yeah, as far as the recharge times, if you do want to do DC fast charging, it of course does do that, and does it actually very quickly. 195 kilowatt peak charge rate is what you get here in this, which is really top notch. And even with a large battery pack like this, I believe they said a 10% to 80% charge takes just about 34 minutes or so. So not the fastest out there by any means. You know, there are many other vehicles that charge, you know, the 200s and even up to over 300 for peak charge rate in some vehicles. But again, for a vehicle like this where fast charging is not the priority, something that's going to be a rarity, honestly, you know, it's not a big deal. One thing I have noticed driving this vehicle around, though, is that you do have some blind spots here at the A-pillars, because the A-pillar is kind of thick already on its own, but then especially looking over to your right there, that side mirror is really tall, and so it effectively, I mean, you have a little window there, but it really effectively just creates a giant blind spot that if you're coming up on like a four-way intersection where everyone's got a stop sign, I've found myself kind of peering around those pillars a tiny bit so far. You know, I mean, a vehicle this large, of course, you need to take a little bit extra care navigating it anyway. And, you know, that's one of the sacrifices of this styling. So it's totally okay. Just one thing you'll notice if you are behind the wheel in one of these for any length of time is that's the one thing I'd say is not quite ideal. But everything else is fantastic. View out of the sides and out of the back is all really good. I mean, you have a coupe style rear window, obviously, so it's not a huge view, but very easy to see out of. Of course, you have all the cameras to give you assistance if you'd like as well, and also having the pillarless you know, window here with no B-pillar at all, which is really a rare thing outside of, you know, classic vehicles these days. You know, it's it gives you great visibility over your left shoulder if you do want to actually, you know, turn your head there. But yeah, it's it's incredible. I mean, it's so smooth in here and so quiet that, like, it's almost like I have to remind myself that I am, you know, driving. I mean, obviously I'm paying attention, I'm seeing what I'm doing, but like, you don't have the usual audible cues and all these sensations that you typically have to remind you that, like, yes, I am piloting a vehicle. Like, it's so detached, but in the most luxurious way possible. And yeah, it is really something else. But now I have the Rolls-Royce sound on, and let's do an acceleration and see how it sounds. All right, that sounds pretty cool. It's, you know, still pretty quiet and subdued, but you know, if you want to have a little audible sound there to give you, you know, a little bit of a, you know, cue as far as what is going on with your acceleration, you know, you can do that. But it's really subtle. I mean, I don't mind it, but in a vehicle like this, honestly, even though I love sound in cars, I mean, it's a fine sound, but I'd rather just, you know, marvel in the silence. But now we're out on the highway here in the Spectre, and especially with this freshly paved little strip here, I mean, well, now we got loud tires next to us from this lifted truck, but, you know, and even that doesn't harsh the vibe too much. But, so now we're on a little bit of a rougher road here, but, I mean, it's so quiet, even 70 miles per hour, and this is all you hear on this very rough road. Once again, it's really, you know, the harshest of conditions here with these highways we're on currently. Any other normal highway, you wouldn't hear any of this noise, I'm 100% confident. But anyway, as far as highway driving here in the Spectre, according to the menus, the only systems this has is a lane departure warning, and it has speed limit assist, and then it has the automatic emergency braking, and that's it. Again, I'm sure you can option in more of this stuff because you have all of the BMW safety technology, I'm sure, at their disposal, so just this one must not have all those things configured. Obviously, a vehicle like this, especially the two-door Rolls-Royces, I know in the past they've said that they are, you know, bought by people that do want to drive and do the driving themselves. Otherwise, you'd go for a four-door one and pay someone to drive it for you while you sit in the back. So I guess that's part of why they've given so much focus on the driver here. But with, you know, all of the automated systems that BMW offers these days, and them, you know, going for some of these level 2 systems here and all that, you know, it is still just interesting that if you're doing a long journey in this vehicle, you're going to be more fatigued in this than you will be in something like Cadillac Super Cruise, which is truly hands-free, does the auto lane changes for you. And, you know, if I have to give any critique, I will say that, you know, to me on the highway, that's more luxurious because you're just sitting there watching everything go by. And the difference between having your hands up on the steering wheel and having them down on your lap is actually a noticeable difference over a couple hours of driving. Again, you're most likely not using this as a road trip vehicle, but it's just worth noting that, you know, to me, to have the ultimate luxury on the highway, you should be able to do it hands-free. And, you know, right now there's only a couple companies that, you know, can do that. Again, Cadillac, Lincoln, and, you know, that's pretty much it. So I'm hoping that's something that maybe Rolls-Royce can, you know, get on that boat at some point as well, to truly level up, you know, the experience of luxury out on the highway here in this. But You know, Rolls-Royce has always been a more old school company as well. They haven't chased all the technology and, you know, been the first out there to do anything technology-wise, honestly. You know, it's always been about that old school craftsmanship and the traditional ways of luxury, you know, with the silence, with the smoothness, with the distinction, you know, just all those various things are really, you know, where they hang their hat, and that's okay. But, you know, just from a driver fatigue standpoint, you know, it would be nice to see that stuff down the road just to make this extra relaxing to drive. I am really missing blind spot monitoring, though. That is the one thing that I really would like to see, because you want that extra assurance of knowing that it's totally clear. I mean, again, I can look over my shoulders and it's very easy to see out of the sides. But, you know, these days you don't have to do it the old school way with that. You know, it's nice to have that tech. I'm sure it's something you probably still can option on, but just kind of strange it doesn't just come standard here on these. And so now on this side of the highway here, we have a nice smooth surface. So you hear just how hushed it can be in here, even at, you know, over 70 miles per hour. Still just really, really incredible. So anyway, the last thing to mention here, though, is the pricing and how it compares to the competition. So pricing for these starts at $423,000, and like I said, this one, as tested, goes up to $558,700. And clearly, again, with the missing safety tech and stuff, there's some more options you can even add on top of this too, to probably get it, you know, over $600 if you really try hard. So, you know, very expensive, and that's why honestly there really is no competitor. There are other electric vehicles, and there's, you know, many that are faster, many that are, you know, more high tech, like I said, with driver assistance stuff, whatever the case might be. Many have very impressive luxury features as well, but none of them are a Rolls-Royce. And that's just the luxury of that the brand has of, you know, just being incomparable. But it's also, you know, impressive that they beat all the other exotic brands to the punch with an EV. You know, Bentley's talking about doing one eventually, but they don't have one yet. And, you know, everything else kind of just pales in comparison. And so if you want truly the most luxurious vehicle from the traditional standpoint of silence, smoothness, refinement, you know, this is the ultimate. And obviously the price tag suggests that, the Rolls-Royce, you know, just brands suggest that inherently, but, you know, it's just, it holds up. It's not just marketing stuff. Like, it truly, you know, feels a cut above even the very expensive six-figure stuff you see from other companies. This is well beyond all of those as well from a luxury standpoint, and the impressiveness that you just have here with every single thing you do here in the Spectre. And so, yes, I would love to sit in here all day and drive this all day. Unfortunately, I do not have that luxury, so the luxury of time is still elusive to me, so I unfortunately have to sign off here and park this vehicle. But anyway, that's all of my thoughts on it. Once again, huge thanks to Rolls-Royce for providing me here with this incredible opportunity to review the Spectre for you guys today. I highly recommend it if, you know, you're in the market for, you know, Rolls-Royce or anything super luxurious and you have this kind of money. You know, I know some people might be traditionalists that, you know, want the V12 for whatever reason, but if you're truly after silence, that's part of why you're buying a Rolls-Royce typically, and the luxury and the smoothness, this is the ultimate. And so as long as you can live with two doors, absolutely, this is the one to get. And clearly buyers seem to agree, because they were planning on doing around 2,500 of these for the first year of production, which I believe we were about a year through, and they were all sold out. We will see, you know, I haven't heard as far as how much more they're continuing to sell beyond that initial burst of 2,500. But I mean, that's a lot of $500,000 cars that people are lining up for, because they're excited about this and they understand this is the perfect next evolution for Rolls-Royce and what they've been waiting on, and it's finally here. The technology is ready, and as Charles Rolls said, we now have those charging stations, and so these are now very useful vehicles, especially for a brand that is seeking that ultimate silence and ultimate smoothness. So anyway, that's all of my thoughts here. Let me know your thoughts on the Spectre in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Take care.